This is Pace Per Mile with host Chris Nicholas. Take us on your next run or ride and prepare for race day with Pace Per Mile.
Welcome back to Pace Per Mile. I'm Chris Nicholas, and the news all around the internet today is the Bank of America Chicago Marathon, and now it's moving to a lottery system. We'll take you back to last year. The website opened for registration on active.com and had a lot of issues because so many people are excited about the Chicago Marathon every year. They want to register. They want to get in that first spot. And to talk a little bit about that and move into why the Bank of America Chicago Marathon went to a lottery system this year, we have on the line with us Carey Pinkowski. Carey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Chris. How are you?
I'm great. And in the office with you, Jeremy Borling. Jeremy's the communications director for the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. So between the two of you, we really want to talk to you about last year first, because I think it's important to remind everybody what happened last year. And I think that will help offset a little bit of the uncertainty that's out there this year, right?
Chris, we're very fortunate here in Chicago with the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. The popularity and the demand and the support has been amazing. Each year, the city embraces, the Chicagoland community embraces the event. And for us, we all collectively feel that last year was the best year we've had. Mother Nature cooperated. We had some amazing performances up front. We had a record number of finishers. In the neighborhoods, the community came out in a big way. It was just an amazing race day experience. Each year, we try to get a little bit better and move forward, and obviously registration is a big part of that.
Last year with registration, the system just really failed when it comes to online, and we've been dealing with that in the news with the Affordable Health Care Act, and really it was just a major technical issue last year. Can you explain what happened last year?
Sure. My colleagues around the country said that in some cases it's a good issue to have, but obviously registration process didn't go as we would have liked it to, but credit to our staff, our team here on our runner services, we were able to stop the process and move forward. And part of that was outreach to our participants that may have not been able to get on or had some trouble logging on, and really change horses in the middle of the stream. And we were able to, for the second half of our registration process, introduce a lottery format for the remainder of the 15,000 entries, and that went very smoothly. The result was we had a record number of finishers in the Chicago Marathon. So it's a testimony to the patience of our participants and just the hard work of our staff that we were able to get back out, communicate with our participants, and really end up with a memorable event.
That's been sort of the challenge for race directors, and I'm sure you've seen this over the years. You have so many people that register for the race, you fill up, and then there are so many no-shows or a higher percentage of it. So realistically, in your viewpoint, by implementing that lottery last year on that last 15,000, do you think that helped with the percentage of finishers?
For us, the demand and popularity of the event, if you look at the history of our registration process, it went from 3 months to 6 weeks to 2 weeks to a couple of days. What we were really looking at and what our organization is really good at is connecting with our participants. And that first come, first served format, I think we just hurdled past that. And what we've implemented this year, taking that stress, and it's a much more relaxed, there's a 4-week window in which people can enter the lottery, but it offers different avenues of different participant bases that want to be part of the Chicago Marathon, and also takes that stress level out, and I think introduces some flexibility, which is something we haven't seen. Confident that this process is going to be accepted and that we're going to see very positive results from it.
Before we dive into the actual breakdown that runners can actually register for the race through the charity program, international tour, etc., was it right after last year's race?
We've been looking at it for probably 3 years as some people recognize that first come, first served format. There was the response we're seeing, the stress level. We had people that were staying up at night, that were taking a day off from work to access that. We've been looking at a lottery format for the last 3 years. I think that we were identified as a first come, first served format, but that obviously with the popularity of the event and the demand and support that we've seen, it's something that we've been evaluating and looking at for the past 3 years. Obviously being part of the World Marathon Majors, we were able to talk with our partners in New York and Boston and London, Tokyo, and look at some of the formats that they use. But it's something that we've been looking at for quite a while. If our first come, first serve format would have worked smoothly last year, I think we still would have implemented the lottery system because of the stress that it creates and the pressure that it creates on the front end.
This is kind of the mainstay for the marathon at this point going forward.
It was an inevitable decision, correct.
Carey, from everything that I've read on the website, everything that I've looked at the other news stories that have been floating around the internet, it looks like the lottery process is explained very well. But can you kind of break it down for us?
There's several avenues to the Chicago Marathon. One of the things that we wanted to recognize is that our local and legacy runners are important to us. So that element where we're recognizing participants that have run 5 times in the last 10 years and our local participants, that was important to us. The time qualifier, Chicago flat, fast course, looking at top performances that are run in Chicago. So we're recognizing top age group performances. And that's something that we've had in place with our corral systems and our registration system. The charity program is a big part of what we do here. It's a big proponent of what the Chicago Marathon is about. The wheelchairs, we had our largest wheelchair division last year. All of those components, all of those participants, I think there's a fair and balanced access for everyone into the race. And so that's what we wanted to try to do. We wanted to create, with collaboration from our charity partners, from our top athletes, from our wheelchair, from our legacy runners, we wanted to make sure that we had a fair and balanced access points for all of the people that have supported this, making this a great event.
I think that's very important for runners to understand, especially that legacy program, the runners, that it is their race every year and they want to come back and they're loyal to the race. I think that's very important. Charities raise money from the Bank of America Chicago Marathon because of those registrations, right?
Sure. It's a big part of what we do. We've raised over $100 million since 2002. In 2012, we raised $15.3 million. Some of those charities, those efforts help us in the local community, a national, international level. So it's something that's very important to us. We have a lot of first-time marathon runners, and to connect them with the charity program, it's an amazing experience. So it's something that's very important to us that give our charity partners an opportunity. Charities also help out. They volunteer. They help us with packet stuffing. They're course marshals. There's an amazing partnership there. So that's something that was important to us. There's something that element is important, and we want to recognize that.
The time qualifier, I just want to hit on that because I think that's going to be the one that a lot of people have questions over, and I'd like kind of your perspective on that. For the men, it's a sub 3:15. For the women, it's, I believe, a sub 3:45. The question that people will pose out there, and I'm sure you've kind of thought about this as well, for a 30-year-old versus a 65-year-old, that's going to be a challenge in some cases for that older demographic.
Well, this is recognizing our top performers. So there's also an option with the lottery, too. I mean, believe me, we're going to take entries from the lottery system, too. So what this does is it recognizes our top performers. That was important to us.
This is Jeremy. There's another element here that's also operational. We have a start corral system that we've had in place for several years. And one of the things that we did was we looked at our start corral system, which is it's a big operational piece to the marathon to ensure a smooth start to the race. So in what we did is we kind of looked at that top 10%, and we want and we need those top 10% to be in the field, because that ensures that you have elite athletes and you have kind of a more of a local elite category of athletes that have run, men under 2:30, women under 3 hours. And really there's that space between 3 hours and 3:45 that is essential to be in the field, because they essentially release everyone else behind them. So that was a big consideration, was kind of looking at what's that top 10, 15% of our field, and how can we not only reward those people, but ensure that they're there to make it a smooth start for everybody on race days. There was some number crunching there, and that's really kind of where we netted out with those two particular qualifying times of 3:15 for men and 3:45 for women. And if you look at the numbers of finishers historically within our race, they kind of equal out men and women at those time standards. That was another big piece to that implementation.
And that makes sense, because I would assume there's a lot of logic that goes into this, and you just don't pick a number out of there. So for those listeners that are listening today, that's not a way to discourage them. That 5-hour or 6-hour marathoner, they're still going to be running the Bank of America Chicago Marathon, right?
Absolutely. Whether we've always felt that, whether you're Dennis Comito and you're flirting with the world record up front, or Rita Jeptu running the fastest time in the world, or 3, 4, 5, 6-hour marathon runner, we want to make sure that race day experience is a special experience. So this is a race of balance. I know our registration process this year will address balance and create balance of the different levels of our participation. But it's something that we feel very important about, and we'll continue to do that. I mean, the crowds on the course are out there, and they love the 5, 6, 7-hour marathoners as much as they do the guys that are flirting with the world record.
Each year, you have to tweak a little bit. You'll find out what works this year and adjust it for next year. And I think that's important for them to know, right?
I mean, that's one of what our great strengths are. Is, I mean, we take a very concise evaluation of everything that we do, whether it's our aid stations, our registration process, the race day experience. We analyze a lot of the things that we do and really break them down. And I think that's the result is that race day experience, we try to get a little bit better every year, evaluate the things that we do. If things work well, we enhance them. If they're not working well, we try to make them a little bit better. So this is definitely a year that we'll get a lot of data back on the registration process. We had our charity workshop this morning. We had over 100 representatives from our charities that were up. We were talking with them. I've been talking to our participants today, our volunteer groups, representatives from the city. So there's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about this year's event.
Well, we're excited to be a part of the race, cover it as well. You're about 267 or 8 days until October 12th, 2014. Carey, I know we talked a lot about the lottery system today because it's so new, it's fresh. We want to kind of dive into it. But more importantly, as we wrap up, let's talk about the race. People should be excited again about the race. They are excited about it. It's on their bucket list. What can they expect as an award-winning race again this year?
Well, I think the tradition will continue. This is a great sporting tradition and a great sporting community. Each year, the communities, the neighborhoods get more engaged in the event. The spectator numbers are amazing. I mean, the quality of the athletes on the front end. I mean, if you look at our course record, it's come down a minute every year. If it comes down a minute again this year, we'll be at 2:02:45. So I think that the international athletes, the elite athletes, realize that this is a course that can accommodate a world record. We've had 4 world records here, so that elite athletes are drawn here. But this is a great sports community and a great sports town, and the community has embraced the marathon. There's unbelievable energy. Mother Nature was phenomenal last year. I think we probably had the best weather we've had. It was a great day, and we want to catch that energy, capture that momentum, and just continue to deliver a great race day experience for marathon runners of all abilities from all around the country and all around the world.
And your elite level runners, that'll be announced later this year.
That starts for us in April. I mean, obviously the spring marathons are a big point in the recruitment process. This year's a unique year because we do not have an Olympics or a World Championships this year. So I think that's there'll be more athletes available. Last year's performances, our guys were under world record pace well into just fell a little bit short. So we had some of the top performances last year. So that energy and that perception is out there. It's going to be a great day.
It's going to be another great race. There's no doubt about that. And we would love to have you back on as we draw closer to the race to talk more about it. Share those details with the listeners of Pace Per Mile if you're willing to come back on.
Absolutely.
Final thing is just dates, March 5th through April 7th. That's when the lottery is open, right?
That's it.
ChicagoMarathon.com to find out more information. We encourage the listeners to do that. Make sure you put it on your bucket list if it is not already there. The Bank of America Chicago Marathon it's such a great race. So Carey Pinkowski, thank you for taking the time to talk with us here on Pace Per Mile. Jeremy Borling, thank you as well, and we will connect with you probably in about 4 or 5 months if that's all right.
Beautiful. Look forward to it. Thanks, Chris.
You've been listening to Pace Per Mile. I'm Chris Nicholas, talking with Carey Pinkowski and Jeremy Borling from the Bank of America Chicago Marathon.
Thanks for listening to this week's Pace Per Mile show. For more on the latest news, reviews, and more, check out pacepermile.com. Like us on Facebook and join in the conversation on Twitter. Until next week, keep putting in the miles and keep your goals high.